Hello everyone and a very warm welcome. In the previous tutorial, we set up the authentication for a Zapier connector. However, we could not test it because our connector does not have any triggers or actions or resources. So we need to create one. Before I go ahead and create a resource, I want to go ahead and show you something. So what we are focusing on is the nutrient document connector. We saw the API, but what I want to show you is the Power Automate connector as well. In this connector, if you see, we need to create something similar to this. Okay, that's the reason why I'm showing you. We need to pass in a source file name, a file content, and an output format. Okay, we'll keep it PDF. So we need to input a file name, input a file content, and also say the format we want to convert to. So this is how our action should look like. Now that you understand how our action should look like, let's get into the demo. So we created authentication. The next step would be to type in Zapier, because that's the command that will help us understand what we need to do next. So we need to go ahead and scaffold, right? We want to scaffold, we want to create, we can create, search, or create a resource. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an action. An action is create, I know that. But if you are not aware of that, what we can do is we can use our best friend, that is help. We can go ahead and create an action, right? We can create an action, and we can also create a trigger, etc. So let's create an action. So what I'm going to do, I'll type in Zapier scaffold create, and then I will give this a meaningful name. So here you see that it created another folder, and within the folder it created create convert underscore document. If I expand the test, it also created a subfolder and it created convert underscore document dot test file. Okay, so that's the file that it has created. We are going to focus on the convert document. So what I'm going to do, I'm again going to go ahead and try to get some screen space. And as I always recommend, we need to first read the code. So here it tells me that do your thing here, okay? Convert the document here, and then export your content, okay? That's good. You can pass in few input fields. So this is something that I want to focus on, the input fields, right? So if I go back into my Power Automate, our input fields will be source file name, source file content, something similar to that, correct? So let's create the input fields. The input fields will come in the format such as we need to give it a key. We need to tell if it's required or not. Now we can define a type that is string. We can also give it a label. Copilot, my friend, help me with that. Next, I want to go ahead and pass in a file. I can pass in a file. I can say required is again true. I can give it a label and just say the label is file, right? I can keep it simple. Similarly, we want to create something for the output file type. I will keep it simple again. I'll say output underscore file underscore type. Okay. Let's say required is true. The type should be, the label should be output file type, and then I can also say required. Is it required? Just true. So let's keep all the three fields required. So here is the first piece of the puzzle. I have created input fields. Next, what I want to do, I can go ahead and give it a sample. I am not going to do that. I'm going to remove this much out here, which shows an example, right? I don't want to do that. Next, what I want to do, I can define output fields. The output field that I want is the processed file, and I would say the name of the file. So the name is fine, so I'll just say file name. Not sure if we will use this, but let's stick to the basics. File name, and then I will say file, which is going to be the processed file. Okay, that means the file which is converted to PDF. So processed file. That's good. So we have defined the output and the input fields. Next, what we want to do, we want to actually get the file content. So here I'm going to cheat a little and paste in some code. Okay, so first thing, I will go ahead and put in these parameters. If you see the file name, and then I'll get the file name without an extension, and then I will get the extension of the file. Okay, just bear with me on this. Now, why am I doing that? Because I'm going to explain you something known as stashing. But before I go into that, the extension also returns me a dot, right? Because when I do stashing, or when I talk about stashing, we need to get something related to the MIME type. And to get the MIME type, I need to use the get my file MIME type out here. Okay, so I need to get the extension without the dot, and this will go ahead and return me the MIME type. So to get the MIME type, I'm going to create another file, and I'll name it get file MIME type.js. Let's keep it simple, and I'm going to go ahead and copy some code out here. Right, these are all the MIME types that it will support, and I will export the MIME type out here. Now, once I have exported the MIME types, I'll go back into my file. That is the convert file, and I will import this as well. So I'll import my get file MIME type file. So I have imported it, so that's good. So next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to send in the post request. So I'll paste in out here, and if you see, it gives me an error because there's another one out here. I'm going to get rid of this one because this will be our main action. If you see here, I'm going to go ahead and need to pass in the file name, which I get, and I need to pass in the file content. But here, my friends, I have not defined the results. So let me go ahead and quickly define the results. I'll again paste in some code, and this is how it will look like. So what it will do, so what does the result do? Result will go ahead and convert the file content as a base64 string, and that's what I'm going to pass it out here, and this is the file content that I have passed it. So pretty simple. If you're confused, please bear with me. You will make sense of it in some time. Now that I have got these things sorted, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and convert the base64 into a file byte. And to do that, I paste in 2 lines of code out here. Now that I have passed it, next I need to stash the file. So stashing is a concept of Zapier where you stash a file, and the stashed file can be used for an action, for the further action. But what does it need? It needs a MIME type. We have taken care of it. We have given it a file name plus extension. We have given it a file byte, and we have also given a file byte length. Okay, that's the important part of it. Now that I have done that, what I can do is that I can just pass this out here. I can pass in the output such as the name, the file name plus extension, and I can just return this all together. So let's quickly take a view of the code. The code is pretty simple. I'm getting the file, I'm getting the file name, I'm getting the file name with extension, and then removing the extension itself, right? Because from the extension I can get a MIME type. And then I defined a file out here, a JS file with response with the MIME type. So I go back, import it here, and then I say get MIME type, and I save the MIME type out here. The MIME type is result is used for stashing the file. Now that I have done that, I then convert my result into a base64 string. The base64 string is passed into the Mohembi action, the file content. This returns me a base64. So the base64 then needs to be converted into a file byte, which can be used in the stashed file method, and then I also pass in the length. Then I finally pass in the output and then return the output. That's pretty much it. I can go ahead and do the modules export. I'll just quickly change the description, import a few modules. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly import these two, HTTPS and the path, because I have used the path in here. And then I will actually go to the index.js and check it. So this looks good. Okay, this doesn't look good. So what I'm going to do is I'll just point it like this so that it is correct. So this is good. And I will try to maybe rebuild it, and I'll push it. So I'm going to create a new zap. So create zap, and let's try to add in the action. You can say nutrient 1.0, and if I click on sign in, it goes ahead and takes me to the sign in screen. So here, my friends, we have taken care of the authentication. And I'll click on login, and at this point I can log in into my particular action. So now that the login works, we need to fix something. So let's quickly get back into the code. To get rid of we need to get into the authentication, and we need to get rid of this, okay? And what I'm going to do, I have pasted a snippet out here, and I'm going to enable this snippet. We need to also comment this line. So what it does, whenever a connection is successful, it does not go ahead and test. It simply goes ahead and tells that the connection is successful. At this point, if I build and if I redeploy it, the connection will not utilize an action when it's trying to go ahead and use it. It will just deduct one request and that too only during the sign in. Okay, so I'll hit the push, and at this point I'm going to push my action to Zapier. This looks good. Can just say no trigger for now. Let's add the action. And this is how it looks. I'll click on select. I'll select the and I will configure the action. When I click on the action, does anything happen? I get the configuration pane. I need to pass in the file name, the file, and the output. So this looks good as well. But here, my friends, we need to go ahead and we need to create a Zapier flow to go ahead and test it. And we will go ahead and do it in the next session or the next tutorial. Thank you. Bye-bye.